Hello everybody, today we are going to discuss On His Blindness by John Milton. So John Milton, you know very well, is quite a famous, quite well-known poet who has written very famous epics, say world-known epics, named or titled Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. And also one more work which he wrote, and all these three works actually he wrote when he was blind, and the third one was Samson Agonistus. So these three major works by John Milton, which are, I should say, especially his Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, they are matchless. They are said to be the world-class epics. Because of these two epics, John Milton is said to be the greatest poets of the world. So here this one is a sonnet, and usually sonnets were addressed to some lover. Okay. Their subject would be love, the theme would be love. And actually John Milton, he started a different practice, and he started writing sonnets on religion and other sentiments as well, like which would include a lament as well. So another poem by John Milton, that after his reaching the age of 23, or on arriving the age of 23, so there he is lamenting how he has wasted his 23 years. So similarly, it's a deviation from that kind of practice, as I said, which the sonnets earlier were written addressed to some lover. And now apart from that, it's a Petrarchan sonnet. It means it has two parts, one octave and the other sestet. So Petrarchan sonnet, following the Petrarchan pattern of sonnets, one octave and the other sestet. So in the octave, it is actually complain. It means in the first part, poet is complaining. The tone of the poem, we can say, is of self-pity. It is peevish, it is annoying. The poet is quite in a mood of complaining. But in the later part, there is a change of tone, and it turns to total submission to God. It accepts the ways of God, the justice of God. So in the later part, there is a total change in the tone of the poem. So being a sonnet, it is written in iambic pentameter, which generally is so, and we can see there is beautiful rhyme in this poem. Enjambment has been used by the poet, that means run-on lines are there, one running into the other. Allusion is also there, biblical references, especially parable of talents has been referred here. The poet has also used, I should say, personification, alliteration, imagery. So these are the things poet has used to convey his idea of his total faith in the justice done by God. So that is the whole poem about. Now let's see how the poet is, and I should make it very much clear that, and as I said earlier as well, that this was written by the poet when he became blind. So he became blind at the age of 44, and after that he was very depressed and clueless now what to do, and just we can say brought back the faith in God. He just boosted himself, putting all his faith in God, and he wrote these major poems, and this one as well, as I said, when he got blind. So The poems, this sonnet as well, is not in his handwriting. These were written by the scribes, especially his daughter and his nephew. So they wrote and he dictated, and this one is not an exception to that. This was dictated by Milton, it's not in his handwriting. So let's see how he is expressing or conveying his idea here. So, when I consider how my light is spent, or half my days in this dark world and wide. So what he means by this is, when I consider, when I think, so this is the say expression when he is totally blind and he is quite in a mood of self-pity, he is quite worried, he is feeling quite desperate and annoyed. So that comes out through this line, the very first line, the starting line of this poem. So he is saying, when I consider, when I think that how my light is spent. So light spent, that means he got blind. He is unable to see, he is totally blind. So, and that happened in reality in his life, that happened gradually, slowly and slowly he lost his complete eyesight. So when I consider, when I think that how I lost my eyesight, his eyesight was, he got totally blind, ere half my days. So ere half my days means, as we can say, the life was supposed to be of 100 years. A human life was as divided in different parts and was supposed to be of 100 years earlier. So it was like at the age of 44, before even like doing the half century, before attaining even 50 years of his life. So that's what he is saying, that before it happened, I got totally blind before reaching half the journey of my life, before completing half the journey of my life, before reaching halfway of my life, I got totally blind, and this world is left all dark with me, because now it's total darkness all around him. He is unable to see, his eyesight is gone, so now he is left all alone in this world of darkness, or in this world full of darkness. So this is what, so all self-pity, tone of lament is there, that he is quite desperate and worried because of that. And then he says, and that one talent which is death to hide. Now here it is an allusion to the parable of talents, a biblical reference. Parable of talents. So it's a biblical reference, I should say, and there are two versions of it, Matthew and Luke. So in both the versions there is only a slight difference, otherwise the basic story is same. And what is that? Actually, a rich merchant, before setting out on a trip, he called his faithful servants and gave them some money. Some money was distributed. So in Matthew's version it is what? The money that was distributed among those three servants, that has been called as, or referred as, talents. Like the merchant or the master gave the servants 5 talents, 3 talents and 1 talent. So that's how it has been mentioned or narrated. In the other version of Luke, it is simply the master gave them money, distributed money, and he told them to make use of that, to increase that by the time he returns. So the servants, okay, they followed the master's orders and they invested that money, and that was actually how they could show their faithfulness. So, and the money was given to them according to their wisdom, according to their talent, that how able they were. So as per their talent and as per their skills, as per their faithfulness, I should say, they were given that money. So when the master returned, he asked them about the money given to them by him, and they came, or they told the master that how they invested their money and how they increased it manifold, and so master got very happy with them, and he rewarded the first two servants. But the last one, the third one, who actually did nothing with that money and just buried it underground, was punished by the master, and he was not given anything. He was not at all rewarded, he was punished. So that's the story. And so he is now telling about his talent, that he was also given a talent by God. So there in that version of Matthew, talent was money, and here it is actually the poetic talent he is talking of, that he can write, he can compose. So he is saying that the God gave him that poetic talent, that he could compose poems, he could write. And that talent that only death could hide, that means only death could put an end to that talent. But now that talent is lying useless with him. He was unable to use that talent, and that's what he is complaining of here. He's saying that, and that one talent which is death to hide is lodged with me useless. Now that is totally lying useless with me. I am unable to use that talent. Now how to do any say creative work, how to produce anything, how to write anything without being able to see? I'm totally blind. So how to put that talent to some use? I'm unable to do that. So the talent that only death could hide, only death could put a full stop to that. But now that talent has rendered all useless with me. It's lying totally useless. I'm unable to use that talent. And then he says that though my soul more bent to serve therewith my Maker. So Maker is of course God. He is calling God the Maker because God of course has made us all as per the religious beliefs. So he is saying that my soul, means I really want to do something for my Maker, for my God. Means he really want to serve God with his poetic talent. He really want to compose something. He really want to write something for God, to show his using his talent, writing something productive, and present my true account. Means I really want to say do some creative work and just present the true account of my talent before God, lest he returning chide, he is afraid, he fears that it should not be that God chide him. It should not be that God scold him that he didn't use his poetic talent, the gift that was given to him by God. He didn't use it properly. So he fears that scolding from God, he fears that reproach from God, that God might chide him because he didn't use that talent. So then he says that in a very fond manner, in a very silly and foolish manner, he asks that the voice, because the desperation compels him to say so. So the voice that comes from within is, doth God exact day labor, light the night? I fondly ask. So here this actually exact. So exact means demand. So doth God exact day labor, light the night? So poet is trying to say that Does God want me to work in daylight, taking my light away, making me all blind? Okay. So making me all blind, taking my light away, depriving me of that of my vision, depriving me of my eyesight. Does he want me to work in the daylight? What? So he fondly, in a foolish manner, in a silly manner, he asks God that what actually you expect from me or demand from me. And then what? But patience to prevent that murmur. Soon replies. Now here it is personification, and you can see there is a marked departure from the set pattern of Petrarchan sonnet. Means there is no difference, or no marked or clear difference, or separation, I should say, between octave and sestet. Means the octave is running into the next line. The last line of octave is running into the next line, and in the whole poem you can find several such examples of enjambment. So in poetic language we call it enjambment. That means run on lines, without any pause, without any comma or colon or full stop, the lines running into the other line. So that is called run on lines or enjambment in the poetic language, and we find such example here. So the octave, as I said, it's a marked departure from the Petrarchan pattern. Octave, there is no clear separation between octave and sestet. And moreover, the figure of speech used here is personification, as patience has been personified. That means what? Patience has been given humanly quality. Patience is saying to prevent that murmur. That means what complaint that was coming out from within, that muttering and murmuring and whispering against God, that what actually God wants from me. So to prevent that, his patience actually said. So how the patience responded here? So patience soon replies. So what was the response, or what was the answer of patience at that time? That you should have total patience. You should not blame God in this way. You should not complain to God about any such thing. So that's what the patience replies. That means the poet is trying to say that he had patience to overcome that sorrow, overcome that depression, overcome that mood of self-pity. He had that patience, and so it says, God doth not need. God doth not need either man's work, no, or his own gifts. So God doesn't need. See, God doesn't want anybody to write anything for him. Doesn't want that that God should be adored, or he should be I should say like followed, or something should be written praising or adulating God. God doesn't want anything from man. He never demands any such thing from the people. Nor does he take back the gifts, the talents that he bestowed upon man. No, God never takes back the talents that he bestowed upon man, nor does he ask anybody to adore or admire or adulate God and write something praising God. He never says, or he never demands any such thing from the people who best bear his mild yoke. Now, mild yoke, there is a bit contradiction that yoke is not mild actually, but here it is as the yoke of God. Now yoke is actually what? Yoke is the wooden frame which is put around the ox during what? Plowing. While plowing a field, that wooden frame is put around oxen. And that is actually yoke, but it has another meaning as well, and that is rule or domination. And so the rule of God is what? Mild. So the poet says, those who bear the mild yoke, his mild yoke, that means those who obediently follow God, those who are obedient followers of God, very in a humble manner, in a meek manner, they simply follow God or the dictates of God or the orders of God, what God has ordained for you. If you follow that in a meek and humble manner, then what? They serve Him best. That's the best service to God. So those who do this, they are the best servants of God. That's a way of serving God. And then here is, we can say, an imagery that God's state has been said kingly. God has been compared with a king. So he is saying that his state is kingly, God is king-like. So just as a king has lots of servants, lots of people at his command to follow his orders and do whatever king wants. So his state is kingly, and thousands at his bidding speed and post over land and seas. So just as at the order of a king there are thousands of people, servants, his army is there to do whatever king orders or whatever king wants. So similarly, the poet says that God is like that. So there are lots of messengers, there are thousands of servants at his bidding, at the disposal of God, to follow whatever God says, whatever God asks them to do, to spread his message all over this world, on this land and seas, to go over the land and seas and spread his message, disseminate his message. There are his messengers and servants. And now at the end he says, they also serve who only stand and wait. So it's not only those who bear his yoke, they also serve who stand and wait. It means those who do nothing, simply wait for the right time, wait for the justice of God, wait for God to take away their problems and worries. So they also are the best servants of God. They also serve Him best if they follow the orders of God. So that is how the poet is conveying his idea and reaffirming his faith, reasserting his faith in God, that he is the true believer and he believes in the ways of God, he believes in the justice of God. And so we can see a total turn of tone in the sestet and the octave. It is self-pity, it is complaint, it is depression, it is desperation, it is peevishness, it is annoyance, and the later part, it is total submission to the ways of God, acceptance of God's ways, belief in His justice. So that is what we see in the later part, and poet asserts his faith in God, that whatever God does will be accepted by him and God's ways are quite just. And so he offers him at the feet of God, and God will do definitely justice. He is waiting for him to do justice with him. He is waiting for the right time. So that's what he says, and that's how he presents his idea in the octave. So it's a Petrarchan sonnet. The rhyme scheme used here is ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE, and that is the usual rhyme scheme in Petrarchan sonnet. The only deviation is that there is no marked separation between octave and sestet. Otherwise, all other things are quite the same as usual as they are in all the other Petrarchan sonnets. Iambic pentameter has been used, and apart from that, as I said, the poetic techniques that has been used here is the poet has used personification, of course alliteration is also there, days and dark, world and wide, alliteration. So we find different alliteration is quite simple to say look for, and you can easily do that. So biblical references there, the allusion to the parable of talents has been there, and these are the things used in the poem, and quite a beautiful one. And before this I should add one more thing here, that usually sonnets were written on love theme, that the main theme would be love, would be addressed to some beloved or so. But here Milton made a difference by using sonnets and to convey or to narrate different other things. So his sonnets, he has written religious sonnets, he has written sonnets of lament as well. So a different treatment given to sonnets, or in a different way he has used sonnets. So this is one of them, one such example. So I hope the whole idea here is very much clear to you. So I'll come up with more such poems with their critical appreciations. So till then, thank you very much. Keep watching, keep coming back. Okay.